So, in what right mind would he then tell Joss this information? It is stupid, plot driven writing. Good morning, fellow General Hospital viewers. Here to talk about yesterday's episode of the show as this disappointing week of the show continues. Last week ended so good. I was pretty excited for this week. And well, half of Monday was really good. The rest of this week has been disappointing. And I think we continue to see how plot-driven writing can easily fall apart, especially when you want to just stretch out your stories too long, which these soap operas are doing. They are just trying to stretch things out too long, and then the stories start to fall apart. I want to start with the Joss stuff because that was the stupidest stuff for me in yesterday's episode. First of all, Cassius was with Britt at the hospital. He was still getting his ribs checked. They bickered about Cullum and Sidwell and how they're going to use Rocco and James to punish them. Yeah. Anyway, Joss was still locked up in the room that Cassius put her in on Monday's episode. I guess the same room that Anna was in, as you all have told me in the comments. She looked around the room. She got a hanger. She tried to pick the lock with the hanger, but not so Nathan, aka Cassius, came back in time to tell her to step away from the door. So Nathan came in, and she was thinking that they did something to Nathan's mind, obviously, because he was supposedly dead. God knows what could have happened to him. And then Not So Nathan decided to tell her that Nathan is dead and admits to being Nathan's twin brother Cassius. And all I could ask myself is why? And this is always my problem when plot-driven writing becomes too plot-driven, because when you end up stretching out the stories, the only people that get hurt are the characters. It makes no sense for Cassius to just flat out tell Joss this, because if he is going to tell her this, it should mean that he's going to have to kill her, which is what Joss ended up saying in this conversation. But that's not what he wants to do. He just wants to hold her captive for now. But it's nonsensical. The entire character of Cassius is built up on the fact that he's supposed to be portraying Nathan. And that is his big secret. That's the entire point to the character, really, in his scheme with Sidwell and Cullum. So in what right mind would he then tell Joss this information? It is stupid, plot-driven writing. And yeah, I guess his excuse was he's winging it now that he had to lock Joss in this room. Whatever. Joss learned that Britt told him that she is WSB and that Britt knows his real identity, so I'm sure that will be some argumentative Joss and Britt scene in the future. She doesn't understand why she should trust him. He's saying that he is her best shot at surviving this. I don't know. I think it is a stupid thing for Cassius to do. I feel like he can still, if he doesn't want to kill her because he has a conscience, and this is their way of showing that he's not a totally, bad villain, he still didn't have to tell her all this information because it doesn't make sense for his character. I also saw too many people online wanting a Cassius and Joss pairing and saying that there's chemistry. I don't know if I agree with that. And I especially don't know if the fan base should be rooting for a couple where the guy, choked her out in a sleeper hold. And I know that's the General Hospital way. They like to root for toxic characters historically, obviously, with Luke and Laura. But yeah, it's a no for me on that pairing. Let's see. Carly and Valentin had a little conversation. She hasn't heard from Jack since their big confrontation. Valentin is the one to tell Carly that Joss is probably the one that told Jack that Carly was stepping out, which I don't think Carly wanted to believe. But when they went through the people that know about either her maybe having an affair, like Lucas, or, Jason knowing that Valentin's there, by eliminating the people that she's told, it's obviously was Josh. And I do think Carly should feel some kind of way about that. Colum is getting released from the hospital, and Jack went to, I guess, pick him up. Jack was hoping to send him back out of town, but Colum said he's not leaving, of course. Colum wants to look over the evidence of the shooting at the pier when he was shot because Colum knows that it couldn't have been Jason that shot him because they were in the middle of a fight and he was shot from behind. Although he still hasn't told Jack this, he just got upset with Jack for the fact that the PCPD has most of the evidence. Colum calling Jack incompetent and even going so far as to say that he shouldn't be running the Port Charles side of the WSB. Colum wants everything Jack has, including the list of agents working with him. This could, I guess, have Colum find out about Josh, although at this point, Josh is locked up, so does it really matter if Colum finds out at this point? I guess not. I guess we'll see what Jack does with the whole Joss thing, since he is the one that recruited her, even though he supposedly loved Carly, but they just had that blowout fight. I assume that Jack is still going to want to protect Joss. I think they are attempting to keep most of their characters, besides Colum and Sidwell, as more well-rounded, just not straight-up villains. Let's move on. Willow was on, at least, in yesterday's episode, although I don't feel like it really led to much. She was with Drew at the beginning of the episode, telling him that the state he is in is temporary. She wants him out of her life as much as he probably wants her out of his. She just wants to make sure that he has nothing on her, and that's when she can let him out of this comatose-like state that he is in. Willow wanted Nina to look after Drew again, which Nina was having doubts, but Willow had to go talk to Kai. She's still trying to assess how much Kai and Trina know about her shooting Drew and what she has to do with that situation. Nina was having doubts, like I said, saying that she can't go on like this anymore. She seems to finally not be dealing with Willow's craziness well. However, by the end of the episode, she was going to give Drew the drug again to keep him in his comatose-like state. But she got a phone call. She didn't put the drug in him yet. I don't know if that's going to be a plot point where she forgets to do it or something. But Valentin called her, and Valentin has a job for her. I'm not exactly sure what that will mean. I don't know if he's going to have her feed some information to Jack, but I guess we will find out. The only other stuff that was happening in this episode, we had Trina talking with Gio about her wanting to get into the music industry because of Brooklyn's connections, but she wants Gio to help her again. And then they just kind of discussed if Gio really wants to do that. Carly did interrupt them at one point looking for Jocelyn. Trina said that she hasn't seen her and that Joss didn't come home last night, so at least Carly's going to know that Joss is gone. But after Carly left, Trina and Gio discussed that they will do this whole music thing, and they told Kai. And then the other story has been the story that's kind of been going on all week. Sonny's doubts about Rick, even though he won't have a conversation with Rick, which is really starting to annoy me. He went to Alexis instead, of all people, to talk about Rick, to see if she thinks that Rick should be trusted right now. He wanted to know how confident she is in Rick not being the same lying bastard. She actually doesn't have doubts right now, but Sonny told her about Rick lying. Alexis doesn't think that Sonny should convict Rick just yet, and Sonny doesn't want it to be true, but maybe Sonny should just have a conversation with his brother and figure it all out. Ava did end up interrupting Rick meeting with Molly and Cody. I, of course, fast-forwarded the early scenes with Molly and Cody because they're the most boring thing on the show. But I did watch more when Ava interrupted them and wanted to talk to Rick about unfinished business. Ava told Rick that she passed along his message and that he agreed to Rick's terms and he can sign the deal. We still have no idea what this is. I'm assuming it's not something with Sidwell. I'm assuming Rick is not backstabbing Sonny. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, because I think that would be a story they've just told too damn much on this show. But however, I am doubting the writing this week because the plot-driven writing is falling apart.